too loud, and then it's too soft.
Are we recording?
Lyndon J. W. Naglis,
Jason Williams.
Jehovah's Witness.
Lyndon, Jehovah's Witness, Naglis.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lyndon has switched teams to Jehovah's Witness, and he now witnesses for Jehovah. He'll ask, if you ask him to pray, he'll say, yes, but who are we praying to? What's his name? What's God's name? And then
At this point, I'm like, Yahweh or no way?
We're like, oh, you're so nice and friendly. Oh, you want to pray? Who are we praying to? Exactly. Name them.
Name names.
You ever get that? How many J-dubs do you come across?
On my mission?
On the Mish. Let's start out with some mission talk.
Not a lot.
I had a ton. I never met one before Georgia.
Oh, I went to high school with a bunch of them.
Were they always like, hey, yeah, I'll pray. But who are we praying to though?
No, they were famous because they would not stand for the national anthem at school.
Oh boy.
And
Here we go.
My principal,
They melt.
they took a knee. No,
They took a knee.
And interestingly enough, my principal was also my bishop, and he would say the Lord's Prayer.
And also your father in some years.
He would say the Lord's Prayer at the beginning of every school day. We'd stand up for the national anthem and the Lord's Prayer.
And he was a Jehovah's Witness?
Our principal?
Yes.
No, he was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
Oh.
formerly known as Mormons.
Oh.
He was the bishop.
Oh, yes, it's all coming together now. All the facts you said
All the listeners are
together.
are nodding along, and
I'm just
and so the J-dubs would not stand for the Lord's Prayer, which I thought was strange.
Why is that strange?
Well, I mean, it's in their Bible, isn't it?
I bet it reads a little differently in their Bible. I bet.
Give us this day our daily Jehovah, and lead us not unto Jehovah.
Yeah. Or it's probably just their Bible's all redacted, isn't it? There's a lot of things.
I think I
taken
took
out.
a look at it, and all they do is just change all the names of God to Jehovah.
No, there's tons of stuff taken out. They just flat out take stuff out. Yeah. I remember because I remember doing some smashing with them, some Bible bashing.
Right.
And, it's like, okay, what about this scripture, we'd say? And I even think I had come up with, not I had come up, but there was a scripture chain that was all the scriptures that they had just taken out of their Bible that kind of refute the things that are, that they claimed, So we're a little snotty 19-year-old missionaries. We're like, well, turn to this scripture. And they'd turn to it and be like, we don't have that. And be like, And then we'd do a little, bye. And then we'd pray
we
against their will.
I know I've heard all the stories about Jehovah's Witnesses tracting into the elders.
Yeah, they tracked it into us.
Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses on the mission was a big part of mission. Look at us go on about mission stories.
Yeah.
Are we a podcast that talks about missions?
Are we mission stories? For a second, I
we
thought
got to
we
get
were.
into. We actually got. I got a what do you call it? A verbal email from
Okay.
someone.
Okay.
About the title of our podcast, but we'll come back to that.
Wait, is it a complaint?
Suggestion.
Because I'll hear none of it.
You know what? It is a little complainy, and I also didn't want to hear any of it, but.
Dude, I was just watching.
I think it's the favorite part of people's things. Anyways,
I was just watching
Jehovah's Witnesses on my mission.
But before you continue,
that's it.
Michael Jordan.
That's all I had to say.
That was all. Michael Jordan, I just was watching him. The Last Dance is paused on my TV right now.
Yeah.
And I just watched, they were talking about Michael Jordan as an influence, and they're like, well, Michael Jordan, he's not, everyone looks up to him. You ought to be doing this, or not. You can't be gambling. Or no, it was about how he didn't endorse this guy Gant.
Yeah, the black Democrat.
Yeah, and he wasn't, and he said, hey, Republicans buy sneakers too. And, some people were upset with him about that. And it cuts to him, and he's like, hey, man, listen, I'm a basketball player, and if I inspire you, great. And if I don't, maybe you shouldn't be following me.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I like that. I'm going to write that down. Say it on
I do
the
remember
podcast.
watching that this morning
Yes.
and being like, you know what? He's got a good point.
What a great point.
I mean, it was also true that like the Republican guy they wanted him to endorse against was kind of like a bad guy, a little bit.
Who,
but
the
that-
white guy?
Yeah, the white
Yeah.
guy was kind of a meanie, and
Yeah,
the black
yeah.
guy was more nice,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why everyone's upset. But then Michael Jordan's just like, I just like to play basketball.
I get it, man. I'm just
he
like,
even gave the guy money. Like he
Yeah.
made a donation to his campaign. He's like, that's the best I can do.
you know what I realize I don't like is when people really try really hard to get other people to do stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and we went on missions, and that was the whole thing. But that's
And
why
we-
people don't
and we
like.
hated every
And
moment
I
of
didn't
it.
like it. But we
I
did
felt
it.
this crippling weight of like, if someone was doing this to you, you'd hate it.
Yeah.
And I would just shake my head, and those thoughts would pour away.
Yeah, because you have to. You got to do what you got to do, and as a missionary, that's what we do. What were we talking about before that? Jehovah's Witnesses on
Jehovah's
the mission, and
Witnesses
just
in
mission
high
stories, and how
But
missions.
we still got to get to the bottom of that. Like I understood they wouldn't stand for the national anthem because they're
Uh-huh.
like national anthems are like hymns to a country. We don't worship a country, and we'd all be like, the country that lets you practice your religion, bend your knee to Canada.
Bend the knee to Jacques Chrétien. The prime minister at the time, probably.
Paul Martin.
I don't know. I just remember Chrétien was the guy for as
High
long as
school.
I was like growing up. Well, then it was Harper. It was Chrétien, and then it was Harper for the teen years.
God bless him.
God bless him. I still think we need to go, Harper Airport, YYC. But
Yeah, a lot of people got upset about that.
yeah,
I was like, Calgary legend, hero of this nation,
The
Stephen
guy-
Harper.
he's a Calgarian, and he was the prime minister for like a decade. Give him an airport.
Yeah,
He's a Calgarian. What other Calgarians have been the prime minister for a decade? I can't think of any.
what other Calgarians have been prime minister?
What other Calgarians have done pretty much anything? Stephen Ogg, he's an actor. He's on The Walking Dead. He played Trevor on GTA 5. He's a
from
guy.
Calgary.
He's from Calgary.
Uh,
Bruce McCulloch. It's not. I don't know.
I was going to say Naheed Nenshi.
Nenshi. I mean,
I mean, he's famous for being the mayor of Calgary.
of Calgary. I don't think
But he's
that
also
counts.
famous for being a good mayor.
He's been a mayor for a long time.
Yeah, they're all like, look at Calgary with its brown Muslim mayor.
So
We're so
forward
progressive.
thinking. Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, that's right.
So no, I don't know anything about anything. So don't I'm not your leader, you know? Me and Mike, don't follow us.
Yeah.
Me and Mike, we're the same.
Or do
Or do.
if we inspire you.
or if we inspire you. And if
If we don't inspire you,
maybe you need to find someone else to follow. That's my Michael Jordan impression. Does he not have the most silky smooth voice you've ever heard?
it's pretty good.
It's a great, and he's a handsome man.
I did remember that in the episode. David Stern's just like, you have this charming,
Yeah.
handsome, athletic man. I was
then
like,
cut
man,
to
David,
him.
David Stern is just fangirling.
Yeah, David Stern's got a 3/4 chub for MJ. I think we all do.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not giving him the All-Star MVP unless he promises to come back. It's like, come on, David.
David. I think that was Silver who said that, wasn't it? About him being real handsome. Is that his name?
Not David Stern, Adam Silver.
Silver said the thing about him being handsome.
Okay,
Stern
I've
was the
got
one
it.
who
I've
gave
got it
him.
backwards.
I mean, I just
I'm
watched
throwing
it.
the NBA commissioners all together into
Though.
one.
What do you know anything about basketball?
David Silver.
You don't know jack about basketball.
You don't even remember who quoted what on the episode you watched a few hours ago.
You don't know which of the two NBA commissioners said that Michael Jordan was handsome.
They're
on.
probably both on record somewhere being like, Michael Jordan
how
is
hot
a
he
good
is.
looking
Yeah,
fella.
you must have been thinking of another time Stern said that. Yeah, he's. It's so interesting because Space Jam. I don't know when they're going to talk about Space Jam. I assume they must at some point. In
LeBron leaked something.
this. Did he?
Yeah, 2021, I
Oh,
think.
LeBron's going to be in a new Space Jam, I guess,
Yeah.
if they ever make movies ever again.
Well, LeBron's been making it.
Oh, it's made. We're just saying this. We don't know.
This is like
I saw the picture. I saw the
mean,
picture.
Space Jam 2 is happening with LeBron James. That's a fact.
Hey, I got 2 questions for you. What do you think about, greatest of all time conversations in general? And what do we think about LeBron versus MJ, greatest of all time? Is LeBron even in the running? Like, are there just other people from other times that I'm not even thinking of that would overshadow LeBron?
Everyone will be like,
LeBron's on steroids.
LeBron, MJ, who's the best? And then the little Kobe fans will be like, no, Kobe. And then like, oh, that my poor little heart.
Oh, that's a little segment from episode 5, I believe.
Yeah. And then Kobe, even in that interview, is like, oh, who would win one-on-one? He's like, I got most of my moves from Jordan.
I learned it from Jordan.
I am who I am because. So it's like
So
he's always like
humble,
little.
so great.
He's Jordan Jr.
Yeah.
So Kobe can't be considered the GOAT because he's always a step behind Jordan.
Well, don't say that.
I'm ruling Kobe Bryant out as the greatest of all time
Okay.
because he could never surpass Michael Jordan.
There's just something about I see. There's something about LeBron's just sheer dominance that seems to. It looks like Michael Jordan a little bit more. Even his, although he's a little bit more of a team player, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a little more. He's willing to make his teammates look.
Yeah.
He wants.
That's more of his shtick these days.
He's more of the orchestrator. He's also a great
playmaker.
player. Yeah. Whereas Jordan was like, give me the ball and don't never pass to that guy ever again. And if you pass to him, I'll never pass to you.
Yeah.
And let's go smoke cigars and bet $10,000 on a golf game.
Yeah. I got to write $50,000 checks to these criminals, and it's going to come up, and I'm going to have to testify in court about it.
And I'm also the star of Space Jam, which is... we got to get to this email that Caleb... our good friend Caleb...
True and faithful
True
Caleb.
and faithful Caleb.
Congratulations to him.
I think it's his first email
Yeah.
he's ever written, and I was...
He's made
happy to see it.
verbal complaints to me before,
Yeah.
and those have been aired.
Yeah. He was really kind of the one who got us whipped back in shape during this COVID time, wasn't he? He's the one who's like, hey, listen, we're all at home doing nothing. We got nothing. We're only consuming content now, and you've stopped. You've stopped?
You stopped doing the one thing you could do to help us. Why?
So,
And I'm like, I don't know.
I'm just as scared of it as everyone else is. But anyway, so I don't know. Do we want to
Get straight into that.
get
email?
into that, or do we want to,
You
got to pull that mic a little closer to you.
I've been leaning back. Sorry.
Well, you can lean back. You just got to pull the mic. It moves.
There we go.
You can adjust. You look more uncomfortable now than you did before,
No, I'm
and it's
just,
to the side.
Now I'm just talking to the side.
The side of it now.
There we go. There was a certain someone who made a suggestion. Well, we have to address your solo episode.
Sure.
I listened to that on the drive home yesterday.
Yep.
I was like, well.
Well, look who's getting ahead of himself here.
Well.
Look who thinks he can just do a solo episode.
Look at this little uppity mother.
This job, mother. Thinks he can.
Thinks he can just sit down and talk into this mic without me.
I just did not intend on doing that even. I just
Well, in the middle of it, you talked about how great I was, so I was like,
yeah.
there he goes
Well,
again.
it's true. It's all true. I mean every minute of it. I can say it all again to your face if you want.
That won't be necessary.
Okay.
But there was someone who was like, after that solo episode, that should be the end of season 2, and you should start season 3
It's not a bad idea.
with a new title.
Not a bad idea.
They complained about the Mission Stories title. They said when they first saw it on Instagram, they were like, I'm not going to listen to a podcast about mission stories. And then I, of course, I'm like, no, Mission Stories is a brand.
Yeah.
It more represents what we're about. And occasionally we talk about missions. And
Yeah, we really started heavy into missions, and then we just pivoted about a year in into really, we got tired of missions, and that's okay. But there's a podcast out there called Hollywood Handbook, and it started it started as exactly how it sounds, which, you know, kind of mirrors our path. And now it's just, now that podcast, great podcast, but it is like it's an acquired taste, I think. But basically every episode is them. They have a new concept for every episode. Like they're gonna rewrite an episode of, you know, some popular show or whatever. So that's sort of their shtick, and I think it kind of mirrors our path that we've taken. What do you think?
Yeah.
I love the, like, I paint you into a corner, and and what else can you say?
Well, I could disagree with you, and then I'd have to have a very thorough reason to disagree with you, or I can just be like, yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. Moving on, because I've always said, you know, Joe Rogan is just called the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yes,
and we're very much the Troy and Lyndon Experience.
We could change it to that. It's like what do we cross? I don't know. Do we change it, or do we keep it the same, or what do we do?
Well,
is rebranding dangerous at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, do we hope to suddenly bring in 1,000 new listeners because we changed the title of our podcast?
I don't know.
And they said it should be called Diary of a Faith Crisis.
Yeah, it has
and
been.
I was like, come on.
That's like too specific. We talk about Star Wars way too much for it to be called that, but also too much for it to be called Mission Stories. So I don't know. Of course, Mission Stories. I was so surprised Mission Stories wasn't like taken when we did this, but so that's why I'm almost hesitant to change it. Plus, it's like tradition, you know. Yeah, it's tradition.
So I think at most we need to change the description. The podcast. We don't have to change the title. That's our brand.
Uh-huh.
And we might have to change the description for when people click on it.
Yeah.
And I guess, we're in season 3. Like you said, you're like, I got a bill on my credit card.
Yeah.
We're into year 3.
It's year 3, man.
How did that happen?
I don't know, but I feel like we need to focus more on growing the actually focus on growing the podcast. And I'll be honest, I don't know how to do that. I don't know. After 3 years, I will say this.
We keep getting helpful suggestions from one of our competing podcasts.
Yeah, well.
And I refuse to implement any of them.
That's the thing, right? It's as simple as doing some things, I guess, but
it's like worst case scenario, your efforts work.
I don't want to put myself out there.
It's like, hey, why don't you...
I kind of like being a small podcast.
Why don't you post your podcast to some subreddits every time you release?
Yeah.
To targeted audiences. It's like...
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
What? Really?
What do you want to start? It's almost like we're afraid of success.
Well, what is podcast success?
Well, the more people that listen is the better, I presume.
Spreading our influence.
It's fun to see like new people, just a name from like Great Britain that you've like, I don't know this person, and they've just started at episode 1 and they're just like moving their way through. That's like really cool to see. So
it's also really cool when Caleb writes in.
It is really cool. And I got an email right in front of me, and he's got a lot of hot takes. And he's got the greatest hot take is at the end. And I can't wait to get to that. But he starts off, Caleb, you so much were like, you know what? Read however much of it you want. You don't have to read the whole thing if you don't want to. It's like, do you know our podcast at all? We read entire emails.
Like, we'll definitely record the entire thing.
And then
if it happens to be like erotica, then we might
That's
edit
the
it
one
out
time.
later.
That's the one time. And that was just fear of the shame of our fathers that we were too afraid of. So
it was well-founded.
And it's well-founded.
Parents were so disappointed that was written.
That someone would write that.
And it's like, it's our fault for inspiring them.
Yeah, it's our fault for reading it on air, for giving it a platform. Come on.
Anyways.
So this is what Caleb has to say. He says, hopefully this isn't too long. Skip whatever you don't want to read on your podcast, but here it goes. I'm going to get into it. I love basketball, as you both know. I've played basketball with Lyndon almost every week for almost 7 years. Is that true?
Yep.
That's a long time.
barring COVID.
Barring COVID. This doesn't count. This is all a big mulligan. He continues, we've had many basketball discussions as we also used to live together. Okay, I have to disagree. Now, this is his first hot take. So he just gave us his bona fides. Now he's going to give us his hot take. Steve Kerr, in my opinion, was not just some guy on the Bulls team. He has the highest 3-point percentage of all time played, all 82 games for 4 years straight with the Bulls, played 22 minutes a game during those seasons as well. That's my small basketball rant anyway. So he's saying that your take that Steve Kerr is not quite the Dave Grohl, as I said.
I mean, I still...
You said he's a
yeah, I mean, he was
player.
a little sharpshooter. Do you know why his 3-point percentage was so high?
Why?
Because he was left wide open because Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen were on his team. He was like the pressure relief valve. That's just like, if all else fails, kick it out to Steve and he'll be open to take a shot. So, yeah,
Right.
Obviously he's a good basketball player. He was in the NBA. But at the end of the day, he was just a guy that was on the team. Though I suppose he was more famous. I mean, like, I can barely name the roster.
It was almost when I saw him, it was almost like a Berenstain Bears moment, like the Mandela effect, where I was like, Steve Kerr was A, basketball player, B, he was on the Bulls with Michael Jordan?
So for you, he's famous for coaching.
Did he go back
the
in
Warriors.
time? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I guess he was a great player. Is your rebuttal to that point concluded?
22 minutes. Yeah, he had a really high, He was a guy on the Bulls.
Okay.
Anyone that's not Michael Jordan was basically a guy on the Bulls.
Yeah, I see.
I didn't say he was trash.
I see these other like honkies on the Bulls at that time.
Bill Cartwright.
Paxson or whatever.
Well, Paxson was like Steve Kerr replaced him.
Okay.
Paxson was like the white guy that would shoot wide open shots when they double teamed Michael.
Yeah.
And then they replaced him with Steve Kerr. So Steve Kerr was like a better Paxson.
Interesting. So they couldn't have more than one white guy on the team.
Well, besides like all the big white guys.
Yeah.
That they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And that one with the goatee. And yeah. So it's just funny. Like you got these all-stars and then they cut to like, and I was there too, and I helped a bit. And like they'll show their like one game winning shot or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get back to all right, enough with this guy.
Yeah.
I've had enough.
Yeah, they like Bill Cartwright.
He's got the wrong
They have
skin
so
color.
many interviews with him. And Michael Jordan like only called him out to be like, when they implemented the triangle offense, he's like, Bill Cartwright having the ball is not right. he's like, that's not equality. He's like, that's inequality. He's like, those guys should never touch the ball.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that triangle stuff. I don't know if now's the time, but sure, why not? Tell me about this triangle offense. I've heard you speak of it before, and then when I heard them talk about it in the documentary, I was pinged with remembrance.
Well, it's one of that's the great thing why Phil Jackson, it's like really simple and also really complicated. The only coach here's a little, as the name implies, you set up a triangle. And there's like whole many different options you can run off it. It's like, you set up the pinch post, blah, blah, blah. And basically it relies on forming a triangle on one side. And then depending on which pass you make, depends on which cut you make or which screen you make.
Is it kind of like a game of rock, paper, scissors where the other team, it's like depending on what formation you're set up with, the other team is either going to be able to set up in such a way to defend it, or they've been caught off guard and now you can, your setup beats their setup sort of a thing.
Kind of, because a big thing in basketball is the offense always has the advantage because, you do something like you see Michael Jordan jab step, and depending on what how the defender reacts to that, is he's either going to do this or he's got a counter move. So like on an individual level, you have moves and counter moves for like everything a defender can do. And the triangle was kind of like that. But it's interesting. Like I did just watch a video comparing how Michael Jordan got his points in the triangle offense versus Kobe, because they both used the triangle offense. And it was both like different, but like not much.
Everyone has their own way of doing it.
But basically the history is the Bulls did it with Phil Jackson.
Are they the first to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like Tex Winters or whatever, that guy kind of came up with it and no one really implemented it till the Bulls. And then Phil Jackson did it with the Lakers, with Kobe and Shaq to great success. And they kind of all like Lamar Odom kind of filled in that Tony Kukoc role. And it was like, it was really effective because with the Bulls, Scotty would kind of play like the point forward kind of role.
Okay.
So it all depends. Like Michael sometimes brought the ball up if he was on ball, or what he would do if he was off ball. In both cases, in the Lakers, Derek Fisher and Ron Harper kind of did the same kind of role where they would just bring the ball up, make the pass, run into the corner. This is, yada, yada, yada. It's an offense. The only other team that tried it, the New York Knicks, just like a few years ago when Phil Jackson was the president, was just like, we're running the triangle when Carmelo was there. And the Knicks couldn't do it. They couldn't handle it.
So, I was going to ask, is this a strategy that is still used or less so these days?
No, like no one runs the triangle. I think it's like a really rigid offense that leaves a lot of room for individuals to kind of...
Like a superstar could just break through it.
So it's like it was really effective because you had Kobe and Shaq and Michael and Scotty. So it's kind of like it hasn't really worked with people that aren't superstars.
Right. That makes sense. What's like a typical? Is there sort of a standard basketball offense that is used otherwise, just sort of universal? Has that changed at all in sort of the modern era?
Everyone does like spread pick and rolls. I don't know.
Is it just like a collection of moves? It's not necessarily it's no longer a triangle. I'm thinking of like, is there some new shape that they're using, like a trapezoid offense or something?
There's
Octagon.
Like 5-out motion offenses, pistol sets, pistol formation. What's one called? The floppy set. What am I thinking? Oh, horns. I really liked the Raptors run horns a lot. That's like with two guys at the kind of high post foul line area.
Okay.
So there's like a lot of stuff you can do out of that. So it's more like there's offensive sets. The only like plays they run are like inbound plays. There are a few like, there's 3 seconds left. We're going to run this exact play. Most basketball offenses are like, we're going to set up this way. And it's like, if this happens, we do this. If this happens, you move a certain way.
I feel like we would need a whiteboard for you to truly explain this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like terms that you're throwing out, and I'm nodding my head. I'm like,
Yeah.
But in my head, it's like an old Western savanna plain with a tumbleweed rolling across.
Yeah, and I barely understand these offensive sets.
You're like, and I don't know anything.
Like I know a lot of the lingo.
Yeah.
So I can be like, oh yeah, they run floppy. And if you said, tell me exactly what a floppy set is, and I'm like, there's like one guy sets a screen, and the guy that makes the initial pass cuts through. I don't know.
See, I wouldn't mind dialing in more to that sort of thing.
Like the UCLA offense is a whole thing.
The more you could honestly just like break it down for like a dummy like me who doesn't know much about the specifics of. I would have to learn terms. I'm only just learning like what a point guard is, and everything else. I'm like, I don't know, but. Okay, interesting stuff.
Yeah, that does actually remind me, as we listened to your solo episode, I was like, classic Troy. He just sits down in front of a mic and he just talks for an hour.
Yeah.
If I had to do a solo episode, I'd have to
What'd you
have
do?
notes
And
like a plan. Like
Yeah.
I'd have to be like, I'm going to teach you guys 5 basketball offensive sets.
I bet you could just do it though.
Like I just said, I'm just making up what a floppy set.
I think you just made that whole thing up.
It is a real thing.
It is now.
Now I'm thinking, I was like, the 5-out motion offense and the UCLA offense might be the same thing.
Now that you accidentally created the most genius basketball offense strategy just off the cuff
Yeah.
to not sound dumb on a podcast.
Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, they do a lot of pinch post action in the triangle. I was like, wait, what exactly is a pinch post?
What's a triangle again?
I know what a triangle
A
is.
scalene offense?
The trapezoid.
Isosceles?
Yeah, you can do
Equilateral?
a deep dive on it. There's like lots of basketball breakdown YouTube channels that go
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah. I would love to hear what a Lyndon solo episode would sound like. We should give you some equipment, or I could just go into my bedroom and you just sort of.
I'm like, hey guys, Troy's gone. Me, Lyndon here.
Troy's I gave Troy some real bad laxatives, and so now he'll be busy for a while.
He's like, I don't really know how to use this program.
In the distance, you just hear like, ah, no, ah, and you're like, okay, so let's get into it, and then.
I'm like, I think this is record.
And yeah, you're like, and record, and then you just hear nothing because you turned it off. I was in a Zoom, basically a Zoom meeting with work today, and someone did that. They're like, okay, it's my turn to talk. Here we go. And then like they muted themselves right as they're going to talk. Love it. Classic.
Perfect. All right, so Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr.
Go ahead, Caleb.
He agrees with me. He's the Dave Grohl. He was an
I don't
integral
think Caleb
part.
said that.
We didn't say that, but that's what I was saying. Obviously. Okay, so let's move on.
You're right. He was more important than Bill Cartwright.
Yes. Who is the
More important than
Chris Novoselic?
Ron Harper.
Who's that? Is that the Prime Minister of?
Ron Harper was on the Bulls
Okay.
for their
Careful.
second title run. I think he was on it. No, I don't know. I don't know how long Ron Harper was on the Bulls. He played guard for the Bulls.
He was a good guard. Okay, so Caleb continues. He says, I'm a big fan of your podcasts. I think that's because a lot of what you talk about is YSA, the church, and living in Calgary, which is all relevant to me. I added the all. He just says, which is relevant to me. That was my life. The $100 billion episode was my favorite for sure.
Oh, boy.
Isn't that wild?
Ranking the fave.
Troy brought out a lot of my thoughts and feelings, so I appreciated the debate. You know, it's nice to hear that I represented the opinion of some listeners in that debate. I spent some time in my last solo episode kind of eating my whole words, all of them and the whole of them.
Yeah.
About, you know, it's just like, to me now at this time in the COVID crisis, and if there's anything worse coming than this, it's like, it's nice to have a lot of money saved up.
Yeah.
You know. So, but you know, I think also there were some things I mentioned that.
Assuming the church spends any money on this pandemic.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. And I didn't want to get too negative by myself because I was afraid I would, go down I need you to like pull me out
True.
of the.
There were several times and I was like, he needs those canned clips where I was like, where are you getting those figures from, Troy?
I forget what I just talked out of my butt about, but anyway. Yeah, so.
Well, look, see, it's interesting. Caleb's like, hey, we're the same.
Yeah.
We're Calgary, YSA, Mermans.
Merriman.
But also, there's still a diverse set of opinions.
Yeah.
He's pro Troy.
Yeah. Well, we share some opinions there, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Here's the thing. It's just like an unpopular opinion, right? It's the It's the contrarian opinion to be like, hey, church, you gotta, like, who knows if this wasn't made a huge national story with the Washington Post, maybe we still wouldn't know. Probably we wouldn't.
It was a scandalous revelation.
Yeah, and it's like, well, now, I don't know. It's just sort of and this is maybe one of the church's bigger flaws of the latter days, is they have to be called out in order to like respond. Like they won't proactively be like, hey, these are some things with the church, and also we have $100 billion in the bank. So
why would they ever do that?
right, it causes trouble for themselves, but I think they make the trouble by saying nothing. Like, why do they not learn?
What are they supposed to just release a press statement? Be like, oh, by the way, guys, we finally hit the 100 billion.
Yeah, right. 100 billion subscribers of
like
money.
Like they're just tweeting out like a thermometer. It's like going up, and they're just like, we're almost there.
Maybe your small contribution will be the thing that puts us over the edge.
Is your tithing going to give us that money?
Will you be the last kill in a game of COD team deathmatch? Maybe you'll get the replay. Who knows?
Yeah. Just a video of you handing your tithing to the bishop. And it's like a camera crew pops out with confetti.
An X across your your wallet. So that's what he says about that. He says, Troy brought out a lot of, appreciated the debate. I felt very vulnerable at the end of that episode. And
Theo really gave it to you.
The next episode. Because we did that by ourselves, and then Theo came on.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say... Here's the thing. Theo gave some, like, good...
Well, I thought the debate was with Theo. I feel like he's referring to that episode.
Well,
it was like a 3-part saga.
Yeah. The thing... No one ever, like... And now I'm backtracking into my...
You're like, now I'm vomiting up my words, and I refuse to swallow them.
I just feel like... I actually had a talk with my bishop not too long ago where... And I said to him what I'm about to say now, which is, I basically said, like, at the sort of the darkest, deepest part of my own faith crisis, it seemed like no one in the church or in any sort of leadership considered anything I said to have any validity whatsoever.
Hey, we talked about this. I have the priesthood.
True. You are a priesthood holder, and you...
and I would listen to your things.
You listened and validated some thoughts and concerns I had.
I think a few times I even offered you forgiveness.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a few.
You're like, I don't think you can do that. I'm like, can't I? And you're like, no.
And then you... And then you brought your beads out, and you were like...
My rosary.
10 Hail Marys, and you're fine. So we got that all sorted out, and...
Yeah.
But I just wished that there was someone who, because whenever you say anything like the things that I was saying, the typical response I got was like, where are you getting this information from? It was always this questioning of like, this must be a lie.
Where are you getting this information from so we can snuff it out?
Yeah.
I mean, I got that. It's like ordained women got brought up in elders quorum, and like the stake high councilman's in the back just like giving me the...
Yeah.
Because someone's like, wait, what's the ordained women movement? And I was like, well, it's actually... And they're just like, don't you dare. Don't you dare give that a platform in elders quorum. And I was like, okay, I'm being given the symbol to muffle myself, muzzle.
I'm being told to shut up, and I will fall in line and do just that.
So if you want to hear about that, join us over at the Mission Stories podcast.
Nothing is off limit.
But we can't talk about it in Elders Quorum in case you guys get wild ideas.
Ideas that you can't handle.
We don't want to talk about it here in the church as a quorum of priesthood holders. You're going to have to go home and Google that on the internet.
You're going to have to sort of let those ideas stew and fester in your own mind's recesses.
We don't want to discuss it here among the brethren with hopefully the spirit about us.
And positive influences about you. No, you got to do it by yourself in the seedy, dark rooms.
Yeah, I had that conversation a few times with some church leaders.
And I just wish. So this is what I told the bishop. I was like, you got to have someone who knows at least as much as the people that are bringing these complaints to you. You cannot have a bishop. I think, honestly, I think there should be a test to be a bishop or a stake president, where it's like you got to know that the seer stone was found in a well.
You got to get 75% or more
Yeah.
on this faith concerns quiz.
And you just got to be okay with all of it. You know, it's like you got to know it, and then you got to be okay with it. You got to know it, and then you got to work through it, and then you got to be okay with it. Because when someone comes to you and they're like, hey, what's the deal with XYZ? And you're a bishop, and you're finding out about this stuff for the first time. Am I crazy? But is this like a wildly underprepared thing for a bishop to have to deal with? Like,
well, welcome to the lay ministry.
I guess so.
It's not like we're sending, to become a bishop, you have to go to seminary and, take courses and get certified.
True.
Why don't you just go ahead and join the Catholic Church, Troy?
You're starting to sound a lot like a Catholic to me.
You want bishops to be
Trained?
taught a
Versed?
specific curriculum?
Some sort of catechism, if you will?
Get out of here.
I mean, we only have a big handbook, though, to go by.
Yeah, I mean...
And training. There's
sure.
training that occurs on the
So,
job and otherwise.
If a bishop doesn't know about these things, and if the bishop's unprepared, that's the bishop's fault, not the church's.
Yeah.
May the sin rest solely on the bishop's head.
All right. I'm just
decreed by me right now.
I'm just giving out tips. I'm not like condemning anyone. I'm just saying like
I'll condemn them.
like as an official representative of the church, I'll condemn. I'm not condemning. I'm just saying like if you want to, because my whole testimony and my whole like staying in the church was like, and ultimately it is only up to the individual, but I just think there's got to be a better way to handle these situations. And I think part of it is letting people know that their concerns are valid. I think that's just like, okay, you pulled back the curtain, and yeah, Oz is like a little guy sitting there cranking knobs.
Well, yeah, like that's that's why.
Like, don't tell anyone, but like you're in on it now.
Well, I would hope that like places like Elders Quorum, maybe even Sunday school, would be safe places to bring your concerns.
Dude.
That's kind of the whole point of church is like a body, like the body of Christ coming together.
I got to tell you about this. I think it was the very last priesthood meeting that I went to that was available to go to. So I had given a talk that sacrament meeting, and then so I was like relieved. I was like, now I can just sort of sit back and I don't have to engage too much. And I brought my iPad with me. That's because that's what I gave my talk on. And so I was just like
in the back playing Angry Birds or something.
My whole plan for priesthood was to use my painting program and just do some painting on my iPad, which I did. But I was also listening to what was perhaps the single craziest lesson that I've ever heard. It was a guy who he said it was his first lesson he had ever taught, but obviously someone who had done a lot of studying. And basically what he did was give a dissertation, a lecture on like, it's like if Bruce R. McConkie and what's the other guy? Madsen, and what's the third guy? Not Trimji Madsen. Nibley. Hugh Nibley.
Right.
Who is, all facts, all history, all of that, none of the spirit, and also dropping some controversial, thoughts on everybody to the point that
like personal thoughts.
Yeah, he'd say things like he'd ask this really controversial question like, is the atonement of Jesus Christ enough to save us? And then I'm just like, raise my hand, yes. And he'd be like, no, here's why. And then he would like go in through all these scriptures or whatever. And people were getting mad. People were getting so mad about it. And, they'd be like, we got to stop this. We have to stop. It was like United 93, that flight with the terrorists on it, and all the people in the back were like, we got to rush this guy. We got to stop him. And I think we had a recent convert or two in the audience, and so obviously people were getting a little scared about, those kind of things. But
okay, yeah.
Rightly so. I think it was, you got to stop that sort of a thing. But also, I part of me was like, there was an air of insult, abounding, of like, this guy's crazy, this is crazy talk sort of a thing. And
well, did his scriptures back up his point?
he was moving too quickly, and it was too aggressive, and it was, in order for any of this to be backed up in any sort of way.
He had a manifesto, and he just needed to get it out.
Yeah, and he was like rushing towards us with a vest on. He wanted to blow the trigger on. But,
there's like no discussion.
Yeah.
It's like,
so I admit he did it the wrong way, and he was dropping some crazy stuff on us. But I also wish there was a little more room for, like, let's sort out crazy ideas. Let's get to the bottom of it, or try to, and let's have an open mind. People get very emotional too. These are very emotional subjects for people, and they react emotionally.
I did it all the time.
Same.
I'd throw out a half-baked idea.
Yeah.
Or like an idea that was just wrong enough. Because then I was like, because then someone has to say something.
Yeah.
They have to correct it.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, Because if you just spoon feed people the gospel, they're going to be like little babies mashing the sweet potatoes with their gums.
Yeah.
But if you just like have a uncooked steel cut oats and you just jam it into their throats, they got to chew it.
They got to chew it, or they got to cough it up.
Yeah, they got to chew it or they're going to die.
Yeah.
They're going to choke on it.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. I was just, I had several people be like, Lyndon,
enough.
Stop
already.
playing devil's advocate. And I'm just like, I'm not here to spoon feed people the gospel. You got to make them reach for it. And you never say anything blasphemous.
No.
Or false. No false doctrine.
Certainly not.
Just like, hey guys, what if this? And they're just like,
what if this?
What if this? And then they're like, no, and here's why. And then it solidifies them in the truth.
Sure. So you were like intentional about that.
Yeah, I would.
You just like
I would lead
rustling
people,
people's jimmies, I think.
Just rustle their jimmies.
If
If they don't get their jimmies rustled,
you didn't do your job.
their testimonies will die.
Their testimony, like,
Calm seas never made good sailors.
that's right, and no winds make weak trees. And that's another phrase.
Was I supposed to come in with another one?
I
or-
guess. I don't know what. Yeah.
Right.
I think we had just reached the end. That's how I know we've reached the end, is
And then-
you're not afraid of silence, and I love it. You'll just fold your arms, look at me.
And I'd be like, what was Caleb saying again?
Okay, all right. Let's move right along. So that was what I told him. I was just like, hey, you got to get someone who knows what they're talking about to talk to these people, because I guarantee I will not be the last person to come to a bishop and say, hey, what about this and that? And they better know what they're talking about. And they I don't know, man. It's like, don't discount those things either. Like, the person wants to feel validated, and if they can't feel like, it's like, oh, so like they just don't know what they're talking about. And that's the vibe I got, right? So it can kind of shake your faith in
In what?
in the ability of your local bishop if he doesn't know what he's talking about with the history stuff, It's like you just don't know what.
Right. I gotta do that whole empathy thing, because I just think, I'm like, why would you ever rely on your bishop? I'm like, why would you ever like need your bishop for anything?
Well, because the whole thing is you're looking for answers. You're looking for this answer. You're trying to reconcile it. And I think the ultimate answer is there is no reconciling it. You just have to learn to live with the two things. But before that happens, you're looking for an actual answer.
Right.
Which doesn't come. And depending on how you receive that news, I think can depend on if you stay in the church or not. Unfortunately. Let's keep moving along with Caleb's email.
I can't remember Caleb's point, but it just ends with me being like, listen, guys, don't rely on your bishop. You rely on yourself.
Your own genius.
You can't trust a bishop to know what's right. You can only trust yourself.
Yes. So Caleb continues. He says, I do skip the Star Wars parts just because I'm not as big a Star Wars fan as you two, but that's just me. We do talk a lot about Star Wars, but today is May the 4th, Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
And with you. And so it is unto you, so it is unto me. He says, I think it's funny you talked about Warzone because it's all my roommates do now is play that game on PlayStation and occasionally NBA 2K20. In brackets, I'm the best, he says. Okay. I guess so. Can't refute that.
I have no reason to not believe it.
He also says, oh, by the way, with that, I've found myself, I think I have tennis elbow from playing video games too much. And I've stopped, because I got that game maybe a month ago, and I've been playing it, I think, almost every day. I went from a zero experience FPS player, and I'm like, I got to get up to speed if I'm going to play with my friends during this thing. So I was cranking hours. And, I just find, I try to extend my arm all the way. The tendons in my arm are just so cramped up.
You got to relax the grip on the controller.
And irritated.
Just been white knuckling your.
Dude, sometimes, and this might be part of the problem. If I get into a gunfight, I'll just accidentally click R3 and I'll melee nothing. And it's just because I've jerked, it's just my natural response. So anyway, it's doing better. I played it. I skipped it for a 24-hour period. Already feels better. It already feels better. I'm going to give it one more day and try some stretches.
Ice my controller arm.
Yeah. So I think
Take some protein supplements.
overdoing it. He says, also, Troy, I agree. Quarantine is a dream come true for me. I understand it's a difficult time for a lot of people, and I feel bad for those people, but for me, my office is my bedroom. My fiance comes over almost every day, and I hang out with my roommates. It's great. I feel it. I'm with you, dude. I woke up today at 7, and I was already at work, so it's great. Love it. Questions he has. He says, questions. I want to know your thoughts about the conspiracy that China made this COVID-19 virus in a lab in Wuhan. I lived in China for years with my family as a kid, and my father does not believe a word the Chinese government says about the situation. Thoughts?
I think we already said this. 100% made in a Chinese lab.
That's Lyndon's take. I'm less and less trusting of the official story as the years go on. And, the Chinese government is notorious for, trying to control their media perception and their propaganda and everything. So
the social credit system or whatever.
You honestly just can't trust what they say. But,
yeah, because I brought up that they were, sequencing the virus, and they found, parts that are, specific to, HIV that it looked like got inserted in there.
Right.
Also, I did read a paper, someone found it from 2007, where people were like, guys, these bats are riddled with coronavirus. This is a ticking time bomb in Chinese wet markets before these bat viruses transfer over to humans.
Yeah.
So it was already well documented by scientists that bats had this virus, and they're like, if we keep eating bats, the virus could jump to us. But I think the Chinese government would rather say it was created in a lab than admit that.
Just their culture created, shut the world down.
That's we like to eat. Virus riddled bats.
Dude, imagine if
Cave chicken.
the chicken of the
Chicken of the cave.
cave. Imagine if there was imagine if hockey caused some worldwide problem, like maple syrup production, caused some virus.
Well, I would blame it on Vermont.
Yeah, fair.
So I know, Tim Hortons creates super Ebola.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, Canadians would sell Tim Hortons, throw them under the bus.
Yeah, we hate Tim Hortons now.
Tim Hortons is the worst. Yeah, it's owned by Burger King. It's not even Canadian.
Not even Canadian. They do have a good blueberry donut that I quite like, though, so I will always stand up for that.
Stand up for that blueberry donut.
Stand up.
Yeah, China's a fishy
crowd.
place.
It's fishy, wet markets. Did they create it? Probably.
I mean, they created it somehow.
Yeah.
Either by eating bats or in a lab. Which one's worse? Which one would you rather believe?
Yeah. Yeah, which one is worse? And then they got the friggin' Chinese hornets are coming,
The murder hornets.
The murder come on. What? Come on. What there's this great meme, and it's
and then they have Muslims in concentration camps.
There's this meme that's so... What? They have Muslims in concentration camps?
Have you never heard about that?
It's ringing a bell, and it seems true enough, but I didn't...
There's the word starts with a U. It's a group of Chinese people that are Islamic, and they put them in concentration camps and do experiments on them, and they're not allowed out until they renounce their faith.
Wowzer.
Yeah.
We saw the movie Silence together when it came out a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was about Christian missionaries in Japan. And that's what came to mind as you said that, when they tried to get those Christian converts to renounce, step on the plaque of Jesus.
Yeah.
That is crazy that they're still doing it, though.
Yeah, and
in China.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff they got going on in those if it's true. I mean, China's there's no concentration camps full of Chinese Muslims. That'd be crazy. And people are no, they took my husband. And
He's there now.
Yeah.
He's over there. See, waves from the fence.
Let's not forget about Hong Kong.
Yeah.
That's still going on.
Oh, it's still going on, huh?
Yeah.
What a crazy country.
It is pretty crazy. And they got Hollywood in their pocket, too.
Dude, what's this free pass we give them? Is it because they're so powerful that when we get even a little bit close, they're like, oops, here's a virus?
Yeah, well, no, there's all this talk, the SJWs get upset that, there's no gay characters in, Star Wars or Marvel. And Disney's we can't do that, or we won't be able to sell our movie in China, which is 40% of our revenue.
Well, also...
So it's Hollywood has to bow to whatever the Chinese government wants.
And they've never been those movies have never been about what anyone's sexual preference is, except for Tony Stark maybe, and Captain America, and friggin' Thor, and the Hulk. Now that I'm thinking of all the plot lines, the subplots of everyone, they're all straight characters. Never mind. But what's her name?
Heteronormative.
But what's her name? She's not Captain Marvel.
Is she?
I thought it was pretty obvious she's a lesbian at some... And the character is a lesbian, I think. They just don't, come out and say it.
Right. They just can't actually
they just
portray that.
Give her a buzz cut in Endgame and the wink in the camera. I feel like you get it.
The Chinese government's just
It's too good of a movie not to let in. Man, that movie is a masterpiece. I just watched it recently. And if only for the whole thing's great, but that closing shot of Captain America dancing with Peggy Carter in 1940, whatever, in their little house with the Nancy Sinatra, whatever's playing. So good. So good. Okay, so I don't want to talk about COVID anymore. Made in a lab, made in a bat's stomach. Either one's bad, and we get to work from home because of it. So someone ate a bat taco, and here we are. Okay, so question 2. How much have you learned from this Last Dance documentary? I feel like I haven't learned much I didn't already know. Of course, this is Caleb, the basketball, master. So Jerry Krause being a little weasel is new information. Didn't know about that. Jordan was a competitive a-hole. Kind of already knew that. This is the best thing in his whole email. He says, "Did Troy, is this all new to you? Did you think Space Jam MJ was his true self?"
Like directed right to you.
And when I read that, I was like, yeah. I don't know. Space Jam MJ was my first real introduction to MJ. I think that was a 96 film. And then the next time I saw him was the 98 playoffs when I was a little older and we were cheering for the Jazz.
Mm.
And,
Space Jam does a pretty good job characterizing him. It's like he loves golf.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't really show him betting.
His rampant gambling was not addressed.
He was very competitive in golf, but he wasn't just like, Larry, you owe me $1,000 because I won that last hole.
Yeah, and he didn't there was no criminals. Actually, maybe there was no criminals playing golf with him. Maybe the Bill Murray character was supposed to be like a shady.
Didn't Bill Murray play himself?
I think he played himself, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so either way, for me, I've learned a lot of stuff. I knew from Business Insider articles just how competitive Michael Jordan was. It's just learn how insanely 19 things that show how insanely competitive Michael Jordan was.
Yeah, they haven't even talked about he punched Steve Kerr in the face in practice.
Wow.
I wanted to see. Steve Kerr hasn't had his episode, has he? He briefly.
Does you think he's going to get an episode?
He's the coach of the Golden State Warriors. Everyone loves him. Of course he's going to get an episode.
I don't know.
How many episodes are there left? There's a lot of episodes left.
I just watched. I'm finishing 6, so there's 4 left. So I guess they got some ground to cover.
Steve Kerr, the Dave Grohl of the Bulls, isn't going to get a big feature in an episode?
Give
your head a shake.
They interviewed Dave Grohl. He's like, I don't know why you guys are talking to me.
I mean, they have Barack Obama in there all the time.
That's true. And he kind of slapped Jordan down. He's like, you would have liked to see him endorse Gant, but he didn't, so. And then cut to Jordan and be like, hey, man, if you don't like it, you can go watch someone else play basketball. And I'm like, yeah. Sorry, was that a insensitive
I'm
impression?
I'm going to go watch LeBron James play basketball.
Shmee. Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about the things that we've learned. I think, we've covered lots of it.
I'm trying to think of the big revelations.
Scotty's
contract.
Payday, that was a big one for me.
I knew that he didn't get paid a lot on the Bulls. I didn't know how bad his contract was.
Yeah.
I know the NBA got rid of 7-year contracts, and it might have been because of Scottie Pippen, but
possibly. Very possible.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Andrew Cacao. He's got an email that he sent to us.
Oh, an email.
Yeah, he sort of
send you the. Here's my question for Andrew.
Sure, yeah.
He started sending us private Facebook messages
Uh-huh.
as a different avenue not to be broadcast on the podcast.
Yeah.
And he seemed surprised that I was replying to them or something.
Yeah,
he's like, what's Lyndon doing?
Whoa,
I'm trying to talk to the boss of this podcast.
Well, he included you in the conversation.
He's like, why is Lyndon on this?
Maybe you're just a notorious non-answerer of things.
Where he's just like, why is Lyndon in this conversation? It's like, hey.
Brief, glib responses to serious questions like what makes a great Star Wars film. Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I don't take the platform of Facebook Messenger very seriously.
I don't think you do. And I think you need to work on that.
I will try to repent.
Andrew kind of reams us out here.
Oh, boy.
He says, sounds like you guys could use this service called TriCast for podcasting remotely. If only someone who had generously invited you to use something like this a few months ago. It was him. Seriously, you boomers, it's a web portal. I send you a link. That was bad grammar, so X on that. It records all the audio on separate MP3 tracks. I send you the MP3 tracks and you put them in the GarageBand. Okay, nothing to be afraid of. Okay, I get it. Though I am a bit cautious of offering this up after Troy ghosted me. And then he included this conversation where I said, yeah, I'll let you know what day works. And then I just never got back to him. I don't know if that's a ghosting necessarily. That's just me.
That sounds like ghosting a bit.
A little bit. But I just forgot. Oh, I was in a little zippity doodah there for a second.
Nothing strange happening there.
Nothing strange happened.
Yes, they're going to miss out on that whole sleeve fiasco. Sorry.
And you bringing it up brings
Sorry,
it back.
Andrew.
Yeah,
we got to explain it to him.
Technical difficulties. So
we had some technical difficulties and we lost about 30 minutes of our recording. And then we chuckle about it.
You
guys are like, what are they chuckling about? It doesn't seem like anything's been missed.
Well, you got a little taste of what we got to listen to. I forgot.
Yeah.
I just turn around and better check and see how things are going on the technical side. This is the down. I'm facing away from my computer right now, so this is what happens. But anyway, turn around and it's like a full minute of me going, forgot. And that's where we're at. And so we had to go back and
so we had a lot of explanation for Andrew about things.
And we're just not going
and we're not going back to it.
I can't.
It's been lost.
It's like we can't do it again.
We said the words and nothing captured it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew.
Sorry. So anyway,
ghosted him.
We ghosted Andrew. Sorry about that.
Let's see. I did have an update for you.
Okay.
Because listening to our previous episode, not your previous episode, and you just grilled me for my goals in my 30s, and
oh yeah,
and I was like, I got nothing.
And you're like, I don't know.
adult hobbies.
Yeah.
Because I have an important announcement to make.
Oh my gosh, what?
I put another little feather in my cap of being an adult.
Oh.
Is I successfully drained and filled and chemically balanced a hot tub.
Oh, wow.
I'm now fully certified in hot tub maintenance.
This was the thing you wanted to tell.
This is a big step for me.
This was the thing you were gonna hey, I got an announcement to make.
Troy, it's important that you know. I can take care of a hot tub.
Listen, I know you've been...
It's the biggest achievement I've made.
You've been asking me about what are my big goals, and I just have something to say. I can now fill a hot tub with water and put the pre-measured chemicals into it.
Troy, you ignorant fool. Nothing's pre-measured.
You buy it in bulk.
You got to carefully measure and test
Eric
that
buys
thing?
it in bulk. You got to test it?
Yeah.
You got to dip your whole body in, see if it feels good.
Not exactly.
From a crane, Mission Impossible style.
See, I can't be mad at you for mocking me because you're not at that adult level of understanding.
I'm really not. Although
it takes.
I did take a bath yesterday, though. I cleaned the crap, not literal crap, but I really cleaned my tub a lot, is what I should have said.
Yeah.
There was no crap in my tub, okay? I don't poo in the shower and then stomp it down the drain. I've never done that.
Okay.
I haven't.
I'm really glad you explained that to everyone.
No, but I had a grimy tub, so I cleaned it up. And part of the reason was that I wanted to take baths so that I could condition my body for, COVID. Because I hear
you're just taking ice baths?
No, just regular baths. But I hear that baths are good for you. Your body, heat shock proteins, Joe Rogan, all that. You know.
Boy.
So I'm all in on that now. I took a bath yesterday. No rash yet. Last time I took a bath was 15 years ago. Just took a bath in a dirty tub when I was 15, and got a rash.
Well, thank goodness I got this hot tub in order.
Yeah.
So I can cure myself of the COVID.
Yeah. Well, it's not a cure. It's more like prevention. So it's before you get it, if you've been taking baths regularly, apparently it's sort of you're almost simulating having a fever, and so it's your body is more able to, I don't know. What am I, a doctor?
Joe Rogan told you this.
Joe Rogan called me up. He's like, Hey, Troy.
He's like, clean up that tub
Yeah, he's like, clean up your tub.
so you can take those baths.
Clean the poo out of your tub, dude.
So you can simulate fevers.
So that's my big news. You're like, you can fill up and properly maintain a hot tub. I cleaned my tub and put hot water in it, and I barely fit in my tub, by the way. But did you used the bathroom? Did you notice how clean it was? The tub?
I did not look in your tub. No.
The toilet itself is clean too. It's all like
Yes.
you could eat off that. Not that I have. I haven't. I didn't order Wendy's and put.
I was
ketchup
wondering what
on
all
the
that
roof.
sauce and lettuce was.
I wondered why, like, when I flushed the toilet, a bunch of lettuce came out and like filled it with like mustard.
I figured that was like you ran out of cleaning supplies, so you were using mustard and lettuce.
You like upper decked the toilet with a cheeseburger. You're like, oh, I'm done with the burger. Put a bunch of food in the top. Now it all filters through like a tea bag for your toilet water.
cheeseburger tea bag.
A cheeseburger tea bag. Did we just create the next $1 trillion idea? No.
No.
Okay.
What is a $1 trillion idea?
Well, I had to check if we were still rolling again because that was gold, obviously. $1 trillion idea is light bulbs. That was one. Toilet paper, especially these days. Podcasting,
I don't know if podcasts
YouTube,
have generated $1 trillion.
computers.
Okay.
Did I say light bulbs yet?
That was the first thing you said.
Right. All right. That's a good closer on that thing then.
Okay.
Okay. I guess
What
we're
else did we have?
we're at the second. We've been talking for an hour and 14 minutes. Okay.
We're only in like Andrew Cacao range.
The problem is we don't have any pre-planned topics now. We're just like off the cuff. Have you been studying your Preach My Whatever every week?
Yeah.
Study the whatever?
I mean, I was going to get into some more topical political things. I went hiking thanks to Jason Kenney for opening up the hiking trails.
Thank you, Jason Kenney.
Thank you, Jason Kenney. And a big thank you to Justin Trudeau
And thanks to J. True.
for all his gun bans.
Yeah, dude. Oh, that really chaps my buns. Right as I'm about to want to get a gun, he's like, "Bye-bye guns."
Yeah.
Guess I just got to get my handguns now. Those are still available, right?
Well, not for much longer.
So I got to get them.
I mean, I just don't even know how much I want to rant about it because it's one. Say this. It's an emotion. But I will say this. It's an emotional subject. It's very much politically motivated ideologies. So if the true and faithful want to hear me go off and rant about it, write in. Because right now we're having a lot of technical difficulties. What?
Okay, so yeah, and I was just listening. So 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 many technical problems. We need to end this
Listen,
before this explodes. This machine.
anyone that wants to hear more of our thoughts about this Canadian gun ban, let us know, and we'll talk some more about it
Yeah.
when we have less technical difficulties going on. Because this podcast is a microcosm of life. The world's having a lot of technical difficulties out there. We're having a lot of technical difficulties out there. But we just need to stay true and faithful. You know why, Troy?
Why?
Because life's a mission.
Bye.